everybody, Ericka here from Calgary, Canada. Just about to start class in like 3 minutes, so I better get going. But I teach for 2 hours and then I'll be back on, and then we can chat about all things online teaching, all things Korea, and all other things you guys want to talk about. Alright guys, I'm all done teaching for the day. I apologize for the sound in the background. That is my space heater. Perks of living in the mountains. It's freezing cold in the mornings. So I just finished my 2 hours, and luckily today I don't have any reports I need to do, and I don't have any homework to do either. Okay, this is where I get to talk about me. So obviously my name's Ericka. I'm from Calgary, Canada, and I am 30. And I got TEFL certified in Nicaragua at ITA's partner school in the end of 2016, and I stayed there for about 5 months or so. Didn't work because internet. And then I came home and started teaching online in like spring of 2017. Okay, so when I got home from Nicaragua, I started working for AL07. I had applied to other companies, but either with not being eligible or a bunch of other things. AL07 worked out best for me, as well as Cambly. AL07 at the time paid fairly well, and I liked their flexibility. I didn't need to commit to a ton of classes, a ton of hours. I could kind of just do what I wanted. And Cambly is very much the same. You sign up for your priority hours and you work those, or you just log in and work however long you feel like. The pay at Cambly, not great. However, their flexibility is so amazing, it's kind of worth it. So I taught with AL07 and Cambly fairly consistently from April until the beginning of August, at which point I moved to South Korea. I had done all my paperwork in the time that I was home, and that was kind of my goal once I got my cert, that I wanted to go to China or South Korea or Japan to teach English. At the time, South Korea, with all the benefits and stuff like that, worked out for me. I'm gonna try and keep this short and sweet, but basically I was in Korea at a Hagwon for 1 year, and then traveled a bunch, came home, wasn't working, teaching online at all except for the odd hour on Cambly. And then June 2020, pandemic time, I got hired at Whales English, and I have been teaching with them ever since. I guess the last 100 and however many days it's been since then, and it's pretty awesome. So there's a ton of information online about Whales English and Cambly and stuff. If you have questions you want to ask me, feel free to message me here or on my private account. If you want really informative information about Wales, there was a couple that did a takeover from Malaysia in May, Stevie and Jess, and they did an amazing job of explaining it. They're actually kind of why I got hired at Wales, so shout out to those guys. So probably the top reason I chose a singular country instead of traveling was that I am on medications for psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. So I wanted to be somewhere where I had access to either the medications that I took with me, or could have access to the medication I was on in Canada. It's incredibly expensive, and here I'm lucky that it's covered with my private health insurance. And then in Korea I was able to find a dermatologist and dermatologist at one of the hospitals in Seoul that were able to prescribe me my medication with a pretty good copay. And so I super lucked out with that. If you have any questions about traveling with autoimmune disorders, traveling with psoriasis, traveling with arthritis, please message me because I can help you out. I prefer the hours for online. Like, I work 2 hours every day, and I do work significantly less than most people because it's not my main income. Whereas when I was in person, I was working like 9 hours a day plus having to grade homework and other things. And on that note, like, I really do prefer teaching in person. You get a lot more out of the kids, you get to learn more about them, and you see them every day, so it's completely different than online. With Whales, I do see the same kids every week, so that helps, but like on Cambly, for example, I don't do regulars because I use it only as like a third source of income. So I see people once for like 5 minutes, and you don't really get that personal connection as quickly, obviously, but if I could do anything, I would go back to in-person, but the time would have to be right, the hours would have to be right, and of course the pay would have to be right. Everyone loves a good price breakdown, so I will post my income from Whales and Cambly, and then I will post an income sheet from South Korea. Now keep in mind, I am pretty terrible at saving money, so don't hate me. Aloha. So with Whales, they have phonics built into every lesson, so you'll either be teaching a new one or reviewing, so it's super easy to correct that. If there's other words, you can just say, oh, this is how I say it again, and the kids are usually good. So it's super easy. You'll send in your documents and actually apply, and then if that's successful, they'll invite you to do a mock class with an interview, and then if that's successful, you sign your contract, you get hired, and then you start doing your training, and then hopefully within a few days you start teaching. So I thought I'd take you guys on a little tour of how I get prepared for all my classes. So for Whales, I log into my account. There's my schedule. So for tomorrow, this says obviously tomorrow night, but for me it's in the morning. So once I click on my class, I just scroll down a little bit and I find I'm teaching a review class. So on my 10th class, it's review. This is a pre-K class. My kids are pretty low level for pre-K, but we do our best. Once the PowerPoint is downloaded, I open it up in WPS. I don't have a Mac anymore, so I use that because it's free, and then I don't have to pay for Office. I don't know if I'm allowed to show you their slides, so I'll just show you that. And then I go through the slides, and it tells you in the bottom corner here how long you should be spending on. Up here, it'll tell you, over there, it'll tell you any information they want from you, and then all the information you need is pretty much on the slides. And then this is my organization binder. My notes are a lot less comprehensive than other people's, but I find this works really well for me. So my review class, so these are all the kind of slides we get, and then the timers, and then any keywords, high frequency words, anything like that. If I need to write myself a note like don't get behind or needs more than 2 minutes, I do that. I also do things like include my props, like use your American Girl accessories for this. I have this huge box here that we call my magic box. The kids love it. And it has all of my Beanie Babies in it, and they come very much in handy. Alright, so you can see that my schedule isn't very full. The blue spots are students that I see every week. Those are regular class students. The green one would normally be filled with a trial class. It is not currently, but I only opened it on like Monday, so I wasn't really expecting it to be booked. I'm not interested in opening more hours because when daylight savings hits and I have to wake up at 3:30, that is just not something I'm into. That is not my jam. Just a hard no. Also, there is a fair bit of homework and prep you have to do with Whales. Once you get used to doing it, it's actually quite easy and you can kind of do it quite quickly, but the learning to do it quickly took me a bit. Alright, I'm headed to bed in about an hour, so if you have any last minute questions, go ahead and send them now. And if not, send them to my personal account, that's totally fine, and then I will get to them as soon as I can. This question's a bit hard to answer because I got a bit mixed bag of everything. So there was some things I absolutely loved and there were some things that made me want to pull my hair out. My hog one was great until it wasn't, and then there were some management and staff changes that I didn't. So yeah, the staff changed, the management changed, and it just wasn't very cohesive environment. And then I had a huge psoriasis and arthritis flare-up, and that was absolutely awful. Could barely walk and stuff like that, so it got kind of down, and that was not fun. On the positive side, things that I really did enjoy was actually teaching the kids. They're just so amazing, and they're so willing to learn, most of them. And so teaching, transportation, oh my god, cheap, reliable public transportation. I live in a city where those things don't exist. Well, exists, but it's not cheap nor reliable. And also, I was able to find a dance studio in Seoul where I was able to take ballet and jazz, and then another where I took tap. So if you're interested in that, I can help you with that. And so that was awesome for me. I grew up as a competitive dancer, so that's my thing. That's like my jam. And then